All right, guys, I've compiled a list of the most asked questions from all of you, and I am answering those today, and it all starts right now. Hey everyone, I'm Caitlin McKegg. I'm a realtor here in Phoenix, Arizona. Thank you for coming to my channel and watching my videos. I hope these are helpful. I always talk about Phoenix real estate, Phoenix living, and give you guys market updates on a weekly basis. I've compiled all of the most popular questions I get, or the questions that I get most often from all of you, and I'm going to run through those and answer those for you today. My goal is to have Zoe and Cleo in this video today, but right now Cleo's inside because she's too hot, and Zoe is more comfortable laying on the cold area of the concrete. So we'll see if they want to jump in today or not. I'm starting to feel like you guys might like them more than you like me. If this is your first time to my channel, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. I post 2 new videos every week. One is always a market update of what's going on in Phoenix real estate, and another is anything having to do with Phoenix neighborhoods, buying and selling tips, and all of that fun stuff. So make sure you subscribe for more and check out my social media. You can keep up to date there as well. Okay, so let's jump right in. These questions are for both sellers, buyers, and if you're just moving to Phoenix and you're new to the area. These are the kinds of questions I get all of the time. Sorry, second coffee of the day. It's been a long one. These are in no particular order, by the way. Number 1, how long is the closing time frame if I'm buying or selling a house? So that is all negotiable. If you're the buyer, when we write the contract, we write in the close date that you would prefer, but oftentimes I'll find out from the listing agent what the seller's preferred closing date is so that we know we can try to work with them on that. Most commonly, the closing time frame is about 30 days. That's kind of the standard, especially if you're getting financing, because your lender needs about 30 days to get everything done. We have to go through the inspection, the appraisal, all of that good stuff. So 30 days is pretty standard. I've done closes shorter than that, especially for cash buyers, and then longer than that too, like 45, 60 days when necessary for either buyer or seller. When is my earnest deposit due if I am buying a house? Your earnest deposit, first of all, does not come to me. I don't hold that kind of money. That goes to the escrow company, and they hold that and apply it to your down payment at closing. Your earnest money is only due once we have an accepted contract, so you can hold on to those pretty pennies until we have an accepted contract. Then escrow will reach out to you to coordinate the deposit of earnest money. They keep it safely until closing. I have nothing to do with holding your money. So I'm listing my house for sale. Do I leave my appliances in the house, or do I take those with me? So all appliances stay. The only ones that are negotiable are the refrigerator, the washer, and dryer. Those 3 we can determine if you need them for your next property, or if you want to leave them for the buyer, or if you want to say that they're not included but have them be negotiated in the contract by the buyer. So we have some options as far as that goes, but otherwise your oven stays, your dishwasher stays. Don't try to take those things with you. If I want to buy a new construction house, can you help me with that? Yes, I can, and it's really important that you do allow me to help you with that, because otherwise you're basically letting the seller write their own contract. So when you work directly with a builder, they are the seller of that property. So if you do not bring in your own representation by way of a real estate agent, you are effectively letting the seller write the contract for you and working directly with them for your purchase. So I definitely recommend using an agent, but also you do want to keep in mind that it would be helpful if you loop me in the beginning if you want to work with me on a new construction purchase, because Builders will not allow you to bring me in the middle of the process. They will only allow me to represent you if I go with you on the first visit to that sales office. So keep that in mind. If you're thinking new construction, let me know ahead of time. We can go there together. I will register you, we'll check everything out, and then we can go from there. But if you don't let me know and I don't come with you on the first visit, they are not going to let you include me later down the line. I'm listing my house for sale. Do you take the pictures or do you have someone else take the pictures? I am not a professional photographer, and I think it's important that your house looks professional when we advertise it. So that means I hire a photographer, and not just any photographer, but I hire an excellent one that knows how to photograph real estate and knows how to photograph homes. So yes, you will have professional pictures if you are selling your house with me. What should I prepare for on closing day? Well, in Arizona, closing day is pretty easy. Most of the time, as a buyer and as a seller, you've already signed your final closing documents 1 or 2 days before the closing date. In the state of Arizona, the buyer takes possession on the closing day, but we do have to wait until the county records the sale. So that usually takes place in the afternoon time. I always recommend, if you are a buyer moving into your property on closing day, schedule movers for late in the day to make sure that we have access to the property. You get your keys by the time the movers arrive. Otherwise, that would be very inconvenient. I know in other states, people say that the buyers and sellers both come to the closing table on closing day and everyone meets and signs paperwork together. That is not what happens here. We don't have buyers and sellers meet typically, and it's always done in advance of closing day. So all you have to worry about on closing day is either getting the cash in your account as a seller or getting the keys in your hand as a buyer. What do all of these MLS statuses mean when I'm looking in the MLS for a house? UCB, CCBS, and pending. They're all similar, but different. UCB, under contract backups. That means that that seller has a contract on that house, but they are accepting backup offers. CCBS, contract contingent on buyer sale. We don't see a lot of these right now. That means that the house is under contract. The buyer is contingent on selling their current property before they're able to close on this house. So it's just another way of showing that it's pending, but it is contingent on another sale for that sale to go through. And pending, that just means it's under contract with a buyer. They're not accepting backup offers, and there is no contingent contract in order for the sale to go through. It's just under contract, plain and simple. This market is so wild. Can I put in multiple offers? Yes and no. Yes, you can put in multiple offers, but with that offer, you have to disclose that you have put out more than one offer. So if you think about that from a seller's perspective, if they have a handful of offers and they know that you've made offers on multiple properties, they may not be quite as compelled to accept your offer since they know that you have offers out on other properties that could also accept your offer. So that's why I don't always encourage you to do that, because it does have a disadvantage since we have to disclose it. However, case by case basis, I can't say no all the time. I think that there may be some instances where it calls for that. So answer to that question, yes you can, but there is a downside. If a house is under contract, can I make an offer on it and get them to accept mine and cancel the current contract? Boy, what a world that would be. It would probably be really stressful, confusing, and sad for people that lose their contract if you just swooped in and took it out from under them. But here in Arizona, that's not something we can do. If a seller is under contract with a buyer, they are committed to that contract unless the buyer cancels. So you can't swoop in on a house that's under contract, give them a better offer, and motivate them as the seller to cancel their contract. They can't really get out of that as a seller. They can, but they would be in breach and they could be sued. So there really aren't any outs as a seller in the contract. However, buyers do have outs in the contract. So you could put in a backup offer, wait until possibly the buyer cancels the contract, and then that seller could accept your offer at that point. But you can't just fly in and disrupt what's currently on the table with that seller. We'd have to wait until the buyer cancels. As a seller, what do I need to disclose to the buyer? Well, the easy answer to this is everything and anything. I have a long document that I will give to you to fill out before we list your house that asks about everything that the buyer needs to know, everything from the HOA fees to what kind of bugs you've seen on the property to if you've had any leaks, any roof repairs, etc., etc. That covers most of the bases, and I always encourage my sellers to be honest on those forms. Should I upgrade my house before I sell it? That's a good question, and that's case-by-case basis, I would say, depending on what kind of upgrades you're looking to do. If it's something small and relatively cheap that will make the house present better to buyers or in photos, it may be worth your time doing. Should you retile all of the floors and paint the exterior of the house? No. You're not going to get dollar for dollar back on that, and that type of work can be very expensive. I think depending on the condition of the house, as long as it isn't terrible, you definitely shouldn't refloor your entire house in order to get your house sold. Especially in this market right now, that's totally not necessary. My lease is up in 90 days. When should I start looking for a house? So if we work backwards, as I said earlier, the escrow time frame is usually about 30 days. So it takes about 30 days to close on a standard closing. If we take that 30 days out, that gives you 60 days to get under contract, which is a good amount of time, especially in this market, because homes are not on the market very long. So you'll really be looking week by week, most likely at new properties that come on the market, because anything that was good from the week before is probably no longer there. I would give yourself about 45 days or so to start looking at a house before you get under contract, because one, you might not like anything that you see, and two, it may take us quite a few tries to actually get under contract since there's so much competition right now. So give yourself a buffer, and we can try to negotiate a closing date that works well for you if we get under contract early. It's better to do that than to be homeless once your lease ends because you haven't found a house yet. What kind of bugs are there in Phoenix? So a lot of you come from different areas of the country where bugs can be a big issue in different parts of the year. And here we really just don't have a whole lot of bugs to worry about. I'm sure you've been told about scorpions, which seems to be everyone's biggest fear when they come here. But what I can tell you is that it really depends on where your home is located, because some neighborhoods have scorpions more often than others. I've been very fortunate that the last 2 homes we've owned, we haven't really even seen any scorpions. So it is possible to live here and not encounter scorpions, contrary to popular belief. But there are areas, especially like more in the outskirts, where building is newer, areas like Santan Valley, Queen Creek. You know, obviously as we've built recently in those areas, it disturbs the wildlife, and you tend to see more of that wildlife, like scorpions, trying to find a new home. But in more established areas, you don't see them as much. We do have bees here, we do have cockroaches here, we do have roof rats that like to eat citrus fruits. So if you have citrus trees, that's something to watch out for. There are quite a lot of different types of wildlife here that you can encounter, but for the most part, people seem to be most afraid of seeing scorpions. Snakes is another thing. You won't really see those unless you're more out in the desert, more than likely. But just kind of a simple pest control on a routine basis will help keep those bugs out of your house. Keep your doors shut, don't leave them open, and we also do get mosquitoes too, but nothing like what you're probably used to in other areas of the country. So as far as the bug conversation goes, I think we've got a pretty mild atmosphere here as it relates to bugs. So I don't think it's much for you to be afraid of, but if you have more questions about bugs, we can definitely speak further. How hot does it actually get there? Well, in the summer, it can get up to 120 That is going to be more rare that it gets that high, maybe a few times in the summer, but that's not an everyday thing. I would say at the hottest, we're usually hanging around the 110 to 115 range. And that can be pretty consistent, having like a 112 day, a 115, a 111, somewhere in there can be pretty consistent in the hotter months like July and August. Otherwise, 107, 105, that's really common too, but on the hottest days, you're gonna look at like 115, 120 being kind of the highest here in Phoenix. Keep in mind, it does not cool down at night. Just because the sun went down does not mean that it's nice and cool. It will sometimes be over 100 degrees all night long, and most times it will hang around the 90s, which also means if you like to do outdoor activities, you need to get up at like 4:45 and enjoy the weather when it's like 99 degrees, because that'll be the only time you can enjoy that until the heat breaks and it becomes fall again. So as far as heat goes, that kind of sucks, but I'm just being real with you so you know what to expect. What amount do I need to save for my down payment? This depends on the type of loan program that you're getting. For conventional loans, usually 15 to 20% is pretty standard, but for an FHA loan, you can go down to as low as 3.5%. If you have a VA loan, you actually don't need to put a down payment, and that's only for veterans. So there are quite a few different loan programs. So depending on what you are going with, that will help determine what kind of down payment you will want to have. It will obviously affect your monthly payment. So I always recommend talking to a mortgage lender about that information, determining what makes the most sense for you, and then what your monthly payment will look like to determine what price range would be affordable. It all works together. So talking to a lender is a great first step. And if you need recommendations for anyone that I've worked with in the past or anyone local, I have some great ones. So feel free to ask me about that. I think that wraps up the most common questions that I get from all of you. I hope it helps. I hope that maybe that answered some of your questions. But of course, if you have any additional questions, you can always reach out to me. Look in the description below. I have a link that you can click to set up a time to chat, or you can call, text, or email anytime, and I would be happy to connect with you and talk about buying or selling real estate here in Phoenix. I guess Zoe and Cleo were quite content doing their own thing. Unfortunately, decided not to join us today. Hopefully they'll pop in and say hi on Monday for my market update, but we'll see. Before I go, let's talk about the dog of the week. This week I'm talking about Oliver, or Ollie as they call him at the Sunshine Dog Rescue. He is a terrier poodle mix, and they think he's about 2 to 3 years old. He weighs about 25 pounds. He gets along well with dogs and children. He has medium energy and loves to go on hikes. All around, it sounds like Ollie is a really great dog. So hopefully he can find his forever home. I've linked his information below, so you can check out that link and the Sunshine Dog Rescue and see if he would be a great fit for your family. Thanks for watching this video and coming to my channel. If you have any questions, you know where to find me. Until next week, I'm Caitlin McKegg with HomeSmart. You didn't want to be in this week, huh? No. You just coming out now that it's over? Yeah? Okay.